Tiffany Morgan.
That's right, sweet peas. It's me. It's me. Bum. Hello there, my little sweet peas, my little love muffins from all around the big blue world. This is your hostess, Miss Tiffany Morgan, coming to you live from Kingston, Ontario, Canada, the home of limestone and the home to me, Miss Tiffany Morgan, and hopefully it's the home to you too. We're live right now on C4C 101.9 FM. Here in Kingston, Community Radio, Campus and Community Radio. And do I have a program for you? Actually, I have a couple of programs for you. So speaking about community, there was, I'm going to have a guest, and his story has actually kind of facilitated a recent banning of conversion therapy. So I have Ben Rodgers on the line with me, and he's going to share for this episode. He's going to share kind of his background, his kind of survivor story from conversion therapy. We kind of talk about what conversion therapy is as well. It's a pretty broad term for various different things about trying to make someone who is a gay, queer, lesbian, whatever, into convert them to straight, and also anyone who may be gender diverse into kind of cisgender. So that's kind of the definition. So we'll talk about his story, and as a kind of flag for those people who, for some who may feel it could be a bit intense for some listeners as well, because he is talking about his story. I didn't find it I found it really gut wrenching and stuff like that. But this is just like a little a little reminder of that. So we'll get into that very shortly. But I wanted to. Oh, sorry, I totally forgot to. I totally forgot to. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the chats. Hello, wonderful. Hello, dear. Hello. Are you competing with Biden's inaugural speech? Is Biden's inaugural speech happening right now? No, I'm not competing. So I talked about it in the last program. About an idea of growing things. Like, we, as a group, we pick out some seeds and we grow the seeds at the same time. We grow our plants, our veggies and stuff like that, and we share it in kind of like a little gardening community. I was watching one of my lovely British gardening shows that I love. It's something about British gardening. I don't know. I just love it. And they were talking about that the actual act. So during lockdown last year, the act of growing, putting your hands into soil, watching something grow, caring for it, and that is an act of health. It's an act of self-care, because you putting the time into a little seedling, watching it grow, making sure, and taking the fruits of that is a healthy activity to be doing. It's great for our mental health. It's great for our physical health. When we actually put it out into the garden, we're actually shoveling and getting outside into the fresh air. So it's something I really want to do. And I've posted, so the Grow With Tea, hashtag Grow With Tea, as in Tiffany. Hashtag, if you go to Tyffanie.com, that's TYFFANIE.com, you'll see the suggested growing options here. So let me just go to Tyffanie.com. That's TYFFANIE.com, and so there's a cucumber. There's and you don't necessarily have to do the exact same ones, but it'd be much more fun if we did the exact same ones. So it's an Isnik hybrid. There's a cucumber, and I love cucumbers, especially these types, the alphabet types of cucumbers. There's a tomato, Mountain Merit. Now that's a bush tomato or a determinate tomato, so it's not going to take over your greenhouse or your house or your balcony. It's going to be nice and short and stout, and hopefully produce some really great fruit. And then I'm thinking cucamelons. Cucamelons, they are so easy to grow. I've done them before I love them. They're a great little treat. You walk by the bush, you grab a couple, and you pop them in your mouth, and it's just great. It's just great. And if you don't know what it is, check out Tyffanie.com for those details. And then I'm thinking we need some flowers. We need some flowers. So there's some nasturtiums. So Empress of India. Empress of India. It's a nice dark foliage with a like a very scarlet flowers, and this would go really well in any pot, any patio. If you have a like a hanging pot from your patio, or what are those things on the rails? There, those potters on the pots on the rails. That'd be great too. A pole bean. So not maybe not everyone can grow a pole bean, but I'm going to do that, and it's a blahilda. Blahilda. It's a purple bean, and once you cook it, it turns green. And then I'm also going to grow some marigold seeds. So these are marigold seeds that I took from Seedy Saturdays from years ago, and I've just kept them going and going and going. So we'll be growing that too. But without any further ado, sorry, because this is going to be two parts. Ben, I love Ben, but and he can chat. I told him, I'm like, my program's only half an hour, so we'll chat for like 20 minutes. We chatted for an hour. So, so here is the first part to an interview that I did with Ben Rodgers. So please listen with me. Well, hello, sweet peas. I'm joined with Ben Rodgers. Hello, Ben.
Hi, how's it going?
Great. He says, how's it going? We've been chatting for the last 15 minutes.
It's a natural reaction. It's not my fault.
And welcome, welcome, welcome. So Ben, we've known each other over the years for a while now.
Yep, since I was 18.
Oh my word, yes. And
Yep.
I did a drag show in your hometown, I think, or somewhere near
In
your hometown.
Bancroft, where I grew up. My hometown's Kingston.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm so passionate about what's going on in Kingston. But, I grew up in Bancroft for half my life, and, being 18 and getting to help do backstage for a drag show was probably one of the most entertaining and interesting experiences I
Oh, it and for me as well.
had. I mean,
doing a drag show where half the audience arrived on skidoo. It was something unique for sure. uh,
hey, I'm pretty sure you gave that one old couple a pretty good thrill.
oh, probably, but they were all smiles. They were this was something different that, and this is before RuPaul's Drag Race. But we're
Yeah.
digressing. We're totally digressing. So Ben,
The
can
good
you
old days.
yeah, the good old days. Can you tell a bit about yourself to our audience today? Who is Ben? Who is Ben?
So I am me. I am this crazy random individual that, I've spent many years trying to learn how to love. Um, and that's been an interesting process at times.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're a kid and when you're a young person and you get taught how to basically hate yourself in life, it's hard to learn to love yourself. And I implore everyone to do it. But myself, I'm an artist. I love to create. I love to sing. Pretty much anyone who knows me, anyone who lives around me would probably tell me I need to shut up because I sing all the time. But yeah, like I love to paint. I got back into painting a couple years ago. I've been in a couple art shows actually in Kingston. I'm hoping to do more. Hopefully, COVID doesn't prevent us from getting some more art shows going this summer. Um, I ended up becoming an activist probably the first time when I was 18 for, when I came out. I was all for it. I got to be one of the first people to actually come out in my high school publicly, which I didn't know it at the time, but kind of changed a little bit of history because after it started to be more accepted and more people started to come out after. So, kind of a cool little legacy.
Yeah.
And then, as I've gotten older, about 6 years ago this spring, I got diagnosed with HIV actually. And that really changed my life. It gave me very much a one of two options in my head decision. One, I could, give into the fear, to the stigma, and, let myself just go down the dark hole of, giving into HIV. Or I could see the doctor, I could figure out what I could do about it, and I could survive. Well, I've been a survivor my entire life, and so I chose to survive. I figured out how I could get educated, how I could educate others, and I became an activist yet again. This time for the HIV world, where now I actually sit on the board of directors at HARS in Kingston, the HIV/AIDS Regional Services, and I sit on the PHA Advisory Committee. PHA is People Living with HIV or AIDS, for the Ontario AIDS Network, which helps all of Ontario. So I've really, grown over the years. Back when when we first met, being that, you know, weird, awkward kid that was just coming out to, seeing me a few years later at Pride. After I finally got away from the church, helping direct a Pride parade that I very much remember you being in. And then, now it's this whole epic new world that I found. I've discovered that when it comes to helping myself, I find helping other people thrive helps me. It helps my heart. And so now that's what I'm doing once again. I've decided to come forward and, use that activist side of me and speak forward on the topic of conversion therapy and why it needs to be banned. So, and that's kind of why we're here today. So yeah, I'm this kooky character that loves the arts, loves music, and you'll find me singing almost anywhere.
So yeah, so you kind of mentioned the conversion therapy. So I kind of want, if you could, in your own words, kind of share with us your experience at the Third Day Worship Center.
Yep. Um, so so now we get into the tougher part of this
Yeah, the tougher
conversation.
part. Sit down and let's have a cocktail too.
I'm down with that. Cheers to that one.
Chin chin.
So I grew up, like I said, part of my life in Bancroft, where started grade two until I graduated high school. When I was 18, I came out. As you well know, you saw the intro to my queerdom, and my mom moved away. I've had conversations with her now that I'm older, and she says that wasn't the reason. But when you're 18 and you come out, and the reaction from your parent is basically silence, and then they move away, it hurts. And so I basically, kind of lost my mom in a way. I had to kind of basically learn this whole new world of all of a sudden I have to work, I have to, pay the rent, pay the bills, do everything, and I have to deal with it.
Mm.
And this is in Bancroft, where again I was one of the first people to publicly, full on come out and, be quite a bit more vocal about it than maybe some people wanted. um, but the funny thing is, living in Bancroft, I was actually really big into faith, really big into my Christianity at that time. I attended church every Sunday, and I went to, I was on the worship team. I went to youth nights. Like, we would go tobogganing. I tell you, some of the hills in Bancroft, if you ever get the chance, go. You'll be terrified out of your wits when you get to the top, but when you get to the bottom, you'll be like, oh my God. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Wintertime is fun. But yeah, so like, I had my youth group, I had my church family, I had friends, I had, people I knew in school, and all of a sudden I was getting ready to give all of that up because I was getting ready to go to college. I got accepted to a music theater program at St. Lawrence, the first ever class it was going to have of that program. And I, ended up moving back to Kingston to stay with my mom for the summer, work a little bit, try to get some money for school, and then I was supposed to, move and go. And that's where we come to Third Day. Third Day Worship Center was the church my brother and sister-in-law went to. They owned the house that my mother rented the basement half of, and I was staying with my mom, and she also attended. So The whole family's going. Church was a normal thing for me, so I was like, all right, you know what? I'll check out the young adults. I'll check out, the youth program. And I tell you, you couldn't have asked for a better picture of a program, like a better picture of a youth group.
Uh,
Basically, it was being accepted into the cool kids club at school and high school. That elite club that nobody ever gets into. It was like all of a sudden you walk into the door and everyone loves you in that club. So that should have probably been a warning bell at the start. um, you know, and then so they had like a rock band for their worship team. They had a dance team. They had a rec room in the back of the church, like a
what?
foosball table and a TV and shit.
Well,
Yeah,
who
like
wouldn't want to hang out there?
exactly right. And I grew up poor. Like I was a welfare kid. And now it's called Ontario Works, which I'm actually kind of happy about that change because it makes you feel not so, poor. um, but yeah, like so as a poor kid that just lost all of those things, walking into it and being, accepted with open arms seemed amazing. And like I wasn't shy about, telling people I was gay. I wore a rainbow WWJD bracelet on all the time.
Yeah.
And it was my symbology, it was my showing of my faith.
Hmm.
And I got to do a youth missions trip in high school. I loved that type of stuff. I wanted to go to Bible college actually, but the whole gay thing kind of threw a curveball on that one. um so third day offered me all the bells and whistles. They gave me that golden ticket into this beautiful place. So I started attending the youth group. I got involved with them, got really into it, and started getting mentoring from the pastor, a gentleman named Gerald DeWitt. And that's where things started to kind of change.
Hmm.
He started gearing me in that direction of, my lifestyle was wrong, but my faith was amazing.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to doctor that faith. They wanted to, help grow that faith. But in order to do that, they very clearly told me I had to get rid of, my lifestyle, my sexuality, those quote unquote choices that I made because of past experiences and things that happened to me growing up. This led me to near about middle of the summer, I was getting ready to move actually to Brockville, and I ended up doing a barbecue type thing, as a kind of a farewell, get to see everyone, one last time and whatever. And I got offered an opportunity,
Ooh.
another one of those golden tickets, which was to go to their Bible school. The church offer had a Bible school that they ran called Frontline Bible Training Center,
Oh,
a school that I have
like somewhere else, like not on site.
here in Kingston.
Oh, okay.
They ran it out of the church.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I found out more recently that apparently that school was not actually accredited, which leads me to other issues. But yeah, I didn't know that at the time, and again, I was 19. This was a really exciting prospect, and except again, I had to get rid of another part of me in order to do it.
Yeah.
And back in those days, like that was 2002 when I first came out. Coming out at that time was terrifying. Like we were still being like degraded, having people like whip shit out or whip stuff out at us. Sorry, um, from vehicles, yelling slurs, yelling profanities at us. Like on just walking down the street, like we could get our jobs taken away from us. We could have our rights taken away from us. Well, most of them were taken away from us. And so, coming out at that time was pretty terrifying. And yet I was happy about it until I went to that church. And, they made me go back into those fear states of did what happened to me as a child when I was sexually molested, you know, screw up my brain into,
Oh. Oh.
this
Oh.
homosexual desire.
Oh. So it
And
wasn't just the like glamour of being like they did some research. And they they knew your full history, sort of thing, and then they start throwing it
Oh
back
yeah,
at you.
they knew everything before I even attended the church because of
Oh,
my brother and sister-in-law. Like they knew who I was before I even walked in the door.
oh my.
Yeah. I look back now and honestly, I realized what was going on, and they were trying to use me as a prize because that's when the gay marriage rights were coming into play, and they were actually Mayor Patterson was part of this. They went to Parliament Hill and they sang and preached and shouted out their quotes and Bible verses and how same-sex marriage was wrong and how homosexuality was an abomination unto God and all this and all that. There's videos of this actually still online.
Yeah. So they
And
lobbied, yeah, against gay marriage.
yeah, and they had speakers come to the church, and I remember actually, you might remember this too. There was a protest that happened at the church around 2004, 2005. And a lot of the LGBT community ended up showing up at the church and protesting against this. They did
Oh, that was them.
uh, the pro marriage rally. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. That was them.
yeah.
Okay. All I knew was
I
it
remember
wasn't
that.
downtown and I couldn't get a ride. That's all
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was poor as well at that time.
But yeah, so like I remember that very specifically because I remember feeling so ashamed of myself when we had to drive past those people because I knew those people. Like imagine if you had have been there, if you had have, been beside my vehicle when we were driving past.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? I felt horrible. Like I literally felt like my insides were lava. Like it felt like I was being devoured from the inside out with just this horrible feeling. Like I knew that what was happening was so wrong, but I couldn't do anything about it. Or at least I didn't think I could. Because I had to do what they said. I had to do what was right for God, what was right for them,
Yeah.
to be right for my family, be quote unquote normal. But what the heck is normal? I almost swore again.
Ah!
I got a bit of a sailor's mouth. I apologize.
All right, all right. Well, and
So yeah, it led into I had to go through a 3-day dry fast, which is no food and no liquid. They didn't suggest going to see a doctor to get recommendations or anything. It was I had to do this. At the end of the 3 days, I was to be at the front of the church at the end of the service, waiting for the pastor, his wife, and the counselor at the time. I don't know who else was involved. I just remember those three particularly, where they put literally their hands on my head, on my shoulders, like, and then start yelling at me in their tongues, as they call it, their this language that they speak,
yeah.
and casting out these demons of lust and homosexuality. And literally it just felt like this massive pressure. And I only had one of two options: give in or just allow it to keep happening and happening and happening until they ran out of steam. And so you let yourself fall back, and they have people behind you to catch you and put you to the ground, where they keep preying on you. They hold their hands on you. Like I remember, I don't know who it was, but someone hand on my stomach, like pressing on my stomach,
Yeah.
and like casting out demons. And this was what they made me go through.
Well, yeah, and this sounds like this could be traumatizing without, fasting for 3 days beforehand too. So you're
Yeah,
already in a delicate state.
yeah. And like I tell you, I felt something come over me that day, but I know it wasn't, it wasn't a higher power.
Mm.
It wasn't anything that was good.
So if I could paraphrase a bit, so
Yeah,
this a very unique experience of the fasting and then the laying of the hands and kind of casting out. This is what we would classify as conversion therapy.
yeah.
For
Technically, it would be a form of exorcism, which is what would fall under conversion therapy as well.
yeah.
And yeah, sorry, keep going.
Well, I'm just for the technical terminologies out there. So this is what we would call, like, what you and I would call conversion. Yeah, it was an exorcism too, but it's a this is what we falls under what we classify as conversion therapy, trying to convert someone who identifies as a gay man into someone who's straight, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, basically changing someone's sexual identity, gender identity, from being homosexual or, gender whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too specific there. Into being cisgender or straight because they feel that that's the gender norm.
Yeah.
And that's completely wrong and inappropriate. And straight off, it's a malpractice. It has been, disproven. Um, and like there are actually people who have practiced this in the States that have recently come out as homosexual. So, it's pretty factual that it's torture. It's extremely harmful. It creates extreme psychological damage. Like you said, massive trauma issues. I still to this day, I've been to church a grand total of 3 times,
Well,
and I used to go to church regularly.
I can see how that could shake anyone's faith as well. Yeah.
Yep. For many years, I completely dropped the concept of religion. I backed myself away from it. But there was always this nagging notion because I was raised on the concept of faith and spirituality, which stands greater than any man behind a pulpit. You don't need a building. You don't need some dude with a book telling you what to do to believe in faith and believe in something that's greater than yourself. You can do that anywhere, anytime. No, it doesn't matter who you're with, doesn't matter what you're doing. That's something that's granted to anybody. So, I had to learn that over time, but, faith, religion, two completely separate things in my eyes. Sorry, I can rant sometimes.
Well, thank you, Ben. I appreciate you sharing this story with us today. Um, so I'm running out of time here, Ben. So let's do it.
Okay, so,
I'm gonna do like this as a two-parter then. Okay. So
okay,
we'll just keep recording. Let's just pause for a second here. We'll just pause.
okay.
All right. Well, Sweet Peas, that was my first part interview with Ben Rodgers. So he was sharing his history there. And if you don't know, he was one of the catalysts for the recent City of Kingston discussion and bylaw moving to ban conversion therapy here in Kingston. So thank you, Ben, for sharing that part of the story. I will share the rest of Ben's story next week during Breakfast with Tyffanie here on 101.9 FM, CFRC 101.9 FM. Upcoming events quickly. So listen to What's the Maple Tea, where me, Tyffanie Morgan, and Rowena Way chat about RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13. So you can find that broadcast live online on my Facebook, Tyffanie, TYFFN. ANIE, or Rowena Way's Facebook page, or on YouTube, or on Twitch, wherever it is. And Sweet Peas, wherever you are, you stay safe now.